So welcome to the Universal Grounding. This is our fourth in a series of sessions that started in July. And so the first thing I invite you to do is to just notice the sacred space around you. By noticing, you're just bringing your awareness into this I guess space is the best word for it. And the space is indicative of this realm of existence, this dimensional quantum void, this 0 point energy where we're meeting. And here, there's a team of guides. Recently, we've had up to 1 million joining us because we've been working deeply in the cellular molecular. And so we have a host of divine intelligence beings dedicated to not only this process, but the process of evolution to really meet us again in that space where we can vibrationally connect through frequency. And so we also welcome the angel Jophiel. Angel Jophiel comes into your system, and I want to give you the experience of having an angel join you. So what I'm going to do is ask her to enhance herself and then come into your system on a count of 3. You ready? 3, 2, 1. And she's got her system more strengthened now, so you can possibly sense in. To me, she feels like just a slice of home. Because angels, dragons, fairies, sprites, tree beings, the elementals, Mother Earth, Father Son, we're all a part of our natural world for most of human history. So that's why they're so excited to gather with us, to bring us back home. And they can, you can call them in your day-to-day life. We all know that we're never alone. But in this particular space, this is the purpose, to help move things out of the way so that we too can recognize that sense of home in a greater, expanded, but yet highly personal and intimate way. The energy around us becomes alive with life, alive with this vital force that interconnects everything. So the angel Jophiel joining us, she is the angel of illuminating beauty, because that kind of a world, what's the first word that comes to mind? Beauty, right? Beauty. So welcoming the angel Jophiel, welcoming our guides. And the second thing we do, which I find very effective for bringing this energy into your physical body, is we chant the sound of Om. We chant the sound of Om 3 times, and it physicalizes the sound, because Om is the sound of the divine. It physicalizes the vibration within your system. So we're going to take 3 breaths, and on the out breath, join with me if you can. And if you're not in a space where you can chant it out loud, just allow its vibrational essence to move in, around, and through you. You ready? First breath in. And the second breath in. the third breath. Now take another moment to notice. Do you recognize that stillness that has kind of entered because it's become more physicalized? That's my sense anyway. So we're going to set an intention. Trinity is all about intention. And what I do, and those of you on this call that have the Trinity activation, because again, it came forward at the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024. So those who were on the call in the series at that time automatically received the activation. And so the activation operates through intention. Intention just asks you to lean into that place where you are Trinity. And the intention here is to universally ground. And it always goes to the highest and best interest, because that is its divine purpose. Its divine purpose is always for the highest and best interest. Now, the highest and best interest isn't always positive. The highest and best interest may mean we go into the depths of your darkness, because that stands in the way of your peace, that stands in the way of your harmony, that stands in the way of your balance. I believe the first whole body activation went into some patterns of emotional holding. The sense of belonging went into that fear that says, I don't really belong here. In the previous universal grounding. And so we're going to see where it takes us today. And so where we start is we follow focal points of the chakras in your physical anatomy, but they correspond with the energy centers, but they're just focal points to take us through whatever topic, whatever theme, whatever activation, attunement that is appropriate for where we are right now as a group, individually, as a world, because this is true earthwork. In my talk previous to starting, I reminded you that we are multidimensional people living a divine presence on a karmic earth. And everything right now is in transformation. If you haven't noticed, you're not paying attention, but of course you have, because we've got political upheaval, we've got a lot of climate change issues with weather disruptions and even tragedies of earthquakes and fires out of control and flooding and hurricanes happening, not to mention stuff that's going on within us. The recent pandemic, which by the way isn't really over, the whole pandemic of disinformation, just causing people to not really trust each other anymore or trust what their eyes are seeing. So universal grounding takes us more into that place. It is truth. Now, the true definition of truth, because truth right now is about conditional. It's based on a human perception of duality, good and bad, right and wrong. But truth, looking at it from a wholeness perspective, is both. I'm going to say that again. Truth, looking from a wholeness perspective, is both. It's not either or, it's both and. Hot and cold are both temperatures. Good and bad are yin and yang, male and female. We need to create and even procreate. We need both sides to create a whole. It is a universal principle that whether you know of it or not, whether you believe in it or not, is irrevocably a truth. And so truth, from that definition, is something that never changes. So we're going to start at the very center of the earth, what I call the universal dimensional focal point, because center of the earth, she's an alive dimensional being, a 10th dimensional being. She's awakening. And our ancestors, the indigenous, the tribes, the high frequency communities like Atlantis and Mu and Lemuria, all knew that everything was frequential, including the earth. We related to each other vibrationally. And so we honored the earth because these bodies that are housing our spirit and soul are human bodies, they're Gaian bodies. And so to honor the earth, we honor ourselves. To honor ourselves, we honor the earth. So starting at the center of the earth, at the universal dimensional focal point, well, of course, that's why I started talking about truth. We're pointing at the human, and probably this definition or explanation will change over time, but we're pointing at the lack of truth, the mistrust of truth, the abuse of truth, the misuse of truth, inability to trust truth, because again, true truth is that which never changes. So I would imagine this universal grounding, in order to be more in balance with the vibration of the earth. Earth wants you to be in that place of absolute truth, that place that discerns truth. A lot of us use our intuition, but what you don't really realize is that you're accessing some information, most all information, if not all of it, through a filter of your own conditioning. So that's why Devi Earth Magic uses a crystal. You can't know true truth unless you're accessing it from a place of purity. And so the people who meditate, people who have a deity that they worship or are devoted to, are being fed truth through their deity, because our human forms don't know what that core truth is. Prayer is a form of connecting, but religions also have distorted truth and want you to find truth only through a hierarchy of priests or pastors or popes or religious icons that who are fragmented people. True religion, or I shouldn't say religion, true spirit is within you. But again, it's covered over by how religion has distorted and even co-opted truth in the name of power, of it's corrupted its power. And so where we're starting at the center of the earth is we're going to rebuild or ground, because it's universal grounding. We're grounding in that absolute truth. Now, how do we do that? The multidimensional way is to clear, transform, transmute what is not truth within us. And right now, in our face, is the mistrust of truth in other people, in ourselves, in our own ability to discern, in our own ability to say, well, what is God? I can do this all myself. Well, again, your filter is conditioned by trauma that you don't even know is there. When we were working on oppression of the divine feminine all month long, my goodness, and I work with a lot of really advanced people who know their stuff and done their work. We were at that root core place of separation where our grandmothers and great, 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 great grandmothers suffered through sexual abuse, suffered through the divine loss of their innocence, suffered through the emotional loss and anger and frustration of being tipped off of the balance scale, where wholeness was, it wasn't just a way of life, it was life. It's truly profound work. I can't wait to jump into male toxicity because that's the balance. We're coming into balance. And so we're really hitting that core separation. So collective healing goes in deep to that place of untruth within you, that mistrust. And right now at the core center of the earth, it's going into, I don't even know how to describe it. Part of you that's never known that kind of truth. Gosh, I wish I could have words for this. Oh, it's a total rejection. Now, why would you reject truth? Well, you didn't. Your ancestors did a long time ago for you. It's called separation consciousness. It's the conditioning that is buried so deep, prehistory, that toppled the power structure of what was then a very balanced way to deal with life. It didn't mean death and crime and violence and war didn't happen. It just meant it was met through balance. And so it adjusted itself naturally. So true or balance doesn't mean harmony in a general way. It just means that it self-adjusts through balance. So life still existed in its evolutionary way wherever it took. And part of that evolution was man's need for more power. So gradually, over hundreds of years, the patriarchy took over. And mixed in with this patriarchy was the degradation of truth, the reinterpretation that says that balance, that the shamans, that the medicine women, that the goddesses, that the divine mothers, these were our wisdom keepers. These were the true way shores. The divine feminine was not just equal, it was the part of the equality that brought in the wisdom, the compassion, the love. And so when the divine patriarchy started to take over, its qualities of need to own, to control, started to not be checked by that balance, to the extent that we look around to where we are now. And we can see its result. Ooh, sorry. Ooh. And there's some anger and righteousness in there. I'm not quite sure how much we're going to get through this because, again, this is a sample healing, but excuse my language, hot damn, if this isn't a powerful topic, a more appropriate topic for the world right now. I couldn't even pick. That's why I'm not in charge. Oof. There we go. So it's working out a lot of entangled bag of emotions. Like if you had a big sack and it was filled with mistrust and hurt and pain and loss, but it's very ancient. So we're working very in the depths and the bowels of your subconscious, and the stuff that you couldn't possibly reach because it's in that layered part of human consciousness that started the loss of truth. Again, truth, I need to define this here, because what we're in is a huge question of what is truth. Truth, in its absolute form, is that which never changes. And you have to look to universal laws, which aren't very well known, not in modern culture anyway, not popularized. So this is a grounding in universal truth. By clearing out separation consciousness that your body held, your mind held, that the collective held, it started to not just slip into untruth, but slip into the power structures that made truth irrelevant, absolute truth anyway, that took truth for its own and said, here's my truth. And my truth is your truth, and I'm going to convince you of that. So that's when you stop trusting yourself. Do you see why this is so important for grounding? Because you stopped trusting in your universal nature. Because, here's this process over here that said this is divinity. In one of my ancient past lives, I was very much of a divine prodigy child, where, like the Tibetan culture, they recognized divinity within their children and they gave them over to divine communities to raise and to teach them in their divine ways. And in that lifetime was that transitory transition period where power culture started to co-opt and invade. And so that particular divine dynasty became corrupt. And as a child, I was corrupted all along with it. And this innocence that thought it knew itself as truth slowly lost itself. I'm not going to go into great detail, but the trust in the faith and the divine was hijacked. It may have been a time around Egypt. I'm not sure. Again, it doesn't really matter. We're working dimensionally, so I'm not pointing at any one life for you. I'm pointing at the byproduct of many lives. That's collective healing. That's true multidimensional healing. Okay, that seems to be clear. Again, to the extent that it can, this is something I encourage you to play again and again and again. If it appeals to you, you'll get more out of it every single time you play it, because I tell you, this is a very in-depth, deep, collective healing transformation. So now coming into the subroot chakra or earth star, which is a couple feet below your feet, and it's how you ground into the planet, how you ground into nature. Oh, and here we hit that block of untruth, the part of you that was corrupted, the part of you that mistrust, the part of you that lost. And again, there's just this blanket disconnect, disassociation, resistance, because you had to disconnect from truth in order to be hijacked and co-opt. You couldn't live with that duality. In fact, that is what duality is, but you couldn't live with the duality outside of your known wholeness. So you had to dissociate. You had to hold two things at once, not as wholeness. You had to hold the hijacked truth with your version of truth, which is the true wholeness, and the two just oil and vinegar just didn't go together. Here's what someone's version of truth is, but here's true truth, and the two truths don't make one. They collide as polar opposites. It's different than wholeness. Wholeness, and from a human perspective, is both and. In this case, truth is the focal point, is that which never changes. And there isn't two truths, there's just one whole truth and different subsets of what that truth means. I know I'm not really describing it, but this isn't a learning session, this is a working session. Oh. And there's a lot of deep density of not just disbelief, but rejection. Rejection of changing, rejection of resistance. So I've been using this in my sessions because we often bring ourselves back to balance, back to wholeness. Think of the American Indians, the Native Americans, who when the colonists first came over, some of them were receptive and received with open arms and taught them their ways. Others fought them. But ultimately what happened is their whole way of life was co-opted. They were told to convert to Christians. Their children were stolen and baptized. And again, their whole way of life was co-opted and told it was wrong. And eventually, over time, hundreds of years, how do you think they experienced that change? And that's the kind of energy that we're in right now. So you can well imagine there's complete disbelief, utter disbelief, to rejection, to no way, to frustration, to anger, to hurt, to pain, to trauma, to refusal, to then having to give in, to hopelessness, because there was just too many. And in order to live and survive, you had to give way. And so there's suffering, suffering, suffering. There we go. So that's why this work tends to be not really popular, because in order to really live from a place of truth, you have to look at what isn't truth within you, the conditioning, the emotional roots, that condition your consciousness, your human body, your incarnational package, which is all your past lives together in this intricate but yet complex, multidimensional energy system. It's really, truly fascinating, but a lot of it is beyond our awareness. There we go. So as we work from bottom up, these focal points will start moving faster. It's like we're clearing out and opening up a channel. You've got goddess energy, the goddess Kali, the goddess Durga. We've been working, Lilith is here. Pallas Athena is here. There's a trinity of women goddesses that have joined us for transforming female oppression, because female oppression is a part of finding truth again. So these goddesses are here opening a channel for release, kind of like a drain, and facilitating the drain. There we go. And so what we're doing in this session, and the more you do it, the more you're going to get a sense. So this absolute truth is already there. It's covered over by everything that the divine, that source, I call it source, and we're using Trinity as a tool that Trinity is pointing at. Trinity is filled with source, divine expressions of being that have different qualities, that do different things. And so this truth is already there in its purest form. And so wherever you're at in your spiritual process, it's meeting you. To create more room, more space in your physical body, in your energetic system, for truth to just naturally arise. It's already there. It's just blocked, it's covered over, kind of like the layers of the earth, the rings of a tree. That initial core center is who you are. There we go. And now coming into the root chakra. Ooh, root chakra is really pissed. There's a lot of anger in there. Of course there is. If all you knew was truth, and the harmony of truth, and the transparency it creates, and the love and the compassion, but also the justice and the clarity and the insight and the wisdom that comes along with truth, and that was co-opted, and you'd be pissed too. So there's a lot of unhealed, unresolved anger here in our root chakra. The anger of oppression, suppression, repression, all the pressures, all the pressure, all the stress, all the strain, all the trauma, lifetimes of enduring then. So after truth was co-opted and changed and degraded and moved into a patriarchy, we then endured. We endured the best we can, and we moved from a place of balance, a life of being in tune with each other and nature and the skies and the wind and the planets. I mean, where do you think we got the oracle? Where do you think we got the horoscope? Is we naturally knew how to read signs because of the characteristics that went along with certain planets, and that was a given. And then it all started to degrade. We lost our insight, we lost our wisdom, we lost our wisdom keepers. We just endured. Better word is we just survived. You're a human tribe of survivors now. And the earth is saying, I don't want to survive anymore. I want to thrive. And there are some communities that still are, and striving to, and working towards that. But the tipping point isn't really there yet, or we'd see it. Or maybe we There we go. I'm back online. So we had a bit of a power outage, and those of you who made it back, the recording is still going. And interesting at this part of the healing, where we're in the root chakra and survival fear, and I just kept going while trying to reconnect. And so the energy is still going, and the replay will still be going, even though we had a bit of a literal disconnect on our end. So we're still clearing. Still clearing, still clearing. Oh. When we, I don't know why it went off. Last time it happened, it was construction. This time there's a bit of a storm, so there could have been high wind somewhere. But we're still in the root chakra, and the power outage relates exactly to what's been lost. Truth is our power. To know true truth is to be empowered, is to be in the power of universal connection. And so the power outage is the loss of truth. Right there in the root chakra. There we go. And so we needed to surge to clear that disconnect. I can keep using metaphors, but you kind of get my point. There we go. Now moving into the sacral chakra. Oh, there's more of that heaviness, that weight, that constriction, that tensity of enduring that which isn't true. That's our life today. We think we know what truth is, and those of you who are on a spiritual path, that's what you're pointing to. That's what you pray to. That's what you pray for. That's what you seek until you realize there's no seeking necessary. You are that which you seek. And there's the loss. There's the loss of your sacral chakra. The loss of life, the loss of innocence, the loss of wisdom, the loss of transparency, the loss of justice, the loss of balance. That's moving pretty quickly. Whatever that power surge did impacted this group healing. Coming into the solar plexus, more of that control. And the sense of enduring, the sense of disconnect here. So those of you who have control issues and you recognize that your true truth is to reconnect. Our whole focus this past, I want to say 6 months, I don't remember when we started, was to restore connection. And we worked on different aspects of restoring connection. We worked on helplessness. We worked on, again, so many different topics just so that we can find that connection again. So here in our in our solar plexus, our third chakra, so letting go of control, the control that needs to dictate what truth is. My truth is your truth. Your truth isn't truth. It has to be my truth. There's a lot of righteousness in there, a lot of righteous control. And it's the basis of why disinformation is in our face right now. And we have an election to choose. There really isn't one universal true candidate, but we have a choice between what's more true and what is taking untruth to a next level through disinformation, because that is there. And both use disinformation because rhetoric is disinformation, saying I can do this, I want to do that, and blowing yourself up more than really probably is true. One takes disinformation, has used disinformation, and really is propagandize it so we can see it. Do you see the purpose in everything? There we go. And as we move through these chakra focal points, again, that power outage right at the root chakra, it was like it literally purged a lot of that survival fear, a lot of that survival endurance of untruth. Now coming into the heart chakra. There's that deadness, that numbness, that sense of I'm enduring. I have to endure because this is all I've ever known. And for lifetimes, it's all our ancestors knew. We have to stretch back almost pre-human history to really know the kind of truth that is absolute in its livingness form, in its truest form. As, again, not just a way of life, as life. I think there are very few cultures that live that way today. There are, I think I heard of one indigenous tribe that, I don't remember where it was, it has virtually no contact with other humans. I'm not quite sure. They live on an island. And their way of life is with nature, or their life is nature. But we, modern and postmodern and pre-modern society, balance is non-existent. It's somebody's form of truth. There we go. Do some karmic breathing here. And put in structures. There we go. Think of structures like little pinpoints on a map. because ultimately we're finding our way back home, right? Through the conditioning, and for some of us, most of us, I would say all of us, it's a lifelong journey. I don't think any of us is going to live in a place of absolute truth, not in this lifetime, as not just a way of life, but as life itself, because the earth is transforming. We're part of the earth transforming, and so our transformation is how the earth changes. That's why I call it earth work. So these are evolutionary structures that put roadmap signs up. Here's how to find your way back home. So it's breaking the heart down slowly. Here we go. Beautiful. There's a gentleness coming in. You know, focusing on the throat, focal point. Wow. There's a total shutdown here. Those of you who have recognized they've got throat issues, what this is pointing to is that the loss of that absolute truth, that shift in time where reality said, that's not real. Here's your new reality. Your new reality is we're going to define what truth is for you. Religion stepped in, patriarchy stepped in, all these different scientists and the anthropologists who looked at history and said, well, you know, we can't define magic, so we're going to dogmatize it, or we're going to ostracize it, or we're going to call it actually evil or demonic, when in reality, it is the source of who we are. But the anthropologists came in, and that's where the scientists took their information. That's where the theologists and everybody, and there we go. We have the base for how we look at his story. It's not her story. It's not a balanced story. It's his story. Why do you think we call it history? All words have, oh my gosh, now I'm going into my addled brain. Etymology, roots of the word have meaning. History is forgotten. So in the throat, there is no truth there. No speaking of truth that is universal. I would imagine possibly December, January, February, we'll be working on this again for the whole month. And that's what we do. We listen to Source and say, what do we need for our lives to become more full, more whole, more real, more balanced? And a return of absolute truth, so that everyone's on the same page. And we look to the Hermetic laws. In the book called The Kabbalion, we look to universal laws. Again, these are absolute truths, whether you know of them or not. They're the truth of polarity, the truth of gender, or the law of gender, the law of consequence. I'm not going to go into detail because we're still working on the throat. Hold on. There we go. I'm going to put some awakening structures in the throat. There, it's starting to open now. Kind of like blinds. It'll open more fully as it's more supported by the world around us. Or you're supported. in your own community, in your own self-development, in your own inner awareness. There we go. And now coming into the brow and crown chakra. There's not a lot of karmic here to move, but there's definitely brain work done, neural pathways, different areas of the brain that perceive truth, the prefrontal cortex, your brainstem, your amygdala. Your physical eyes, your inner sight, your outer sight, your ears, your sense of smell, different aspects of the brain tied to your dimensionality. There we go. Now opening up the crown to the extent it's ready to receive a more refined truth. So now with whatever time we have left, I'm going to bridge in and activate truth within. This is the grounding. And so in order to have access, to break down the frameworks that held together all these little different aspects of untruth within your dimensional system, we're bridging into those areas because there's still those frameworks still left over that only know truth as a grounded state of being, like lighthouses of awareness, shining brighter, grounding it more into this physicality, not just you, but you as the universal you. It's a part of an awakening collective, an awakening earth, an awakening humanity, an awakening nature. That's the three parts of Trinity. You as earth, you as a body, you as a spirit, as one wholeness. So we spent this entire hour breaking down untruth to make room for this light bulb of truth. In our embodiment session a week and a half ago, we brought in this beautiful earth light. And this reminds me of that. It's like the earth is starting to turn on again as we clear the deep patterns like feminine oppression, as we clear male toxicity, as we clear helplessness, as we clear the different roots of our anger and loss and fear and pain. The earth light starts to turn on. What is an earth light? It's your natural beingness in the body that knows itself as above, so below. There's one mind, one heart, one spirit. Just notice what's going on in your system. To me, it feels more quiet, more deep, more pure, more connected, but you may have different words for it. It's entirely experiential. So get out of the mind and even the need to describe and just sense. Truth is not a way of life, it is life. It's an experiential way of being in the world. That's true. Wow. Beautiful. Again, you may want to replay this, and when you do, we'll continue to clear that which is untrue within you, to open up this light, this infusion of absolute truth, the truest part of your nature. And it is your lodestar, it is your tuning fork way of navigating in a world that's changing, is to be the unchangeable, to be the eternal, to be the infinite. So bringing in love to amplify all the movements, to strengthen them. And just to end, like a hug, a smile, of the amount of love that you are, the amount of love that our divine beings have for you, the work you're doing for just showing up, the efforts, the intention, the time, the intention, the more conscious way of being, the voice that you're speaking, compassion that you're showing, whatever way speaks to you. Thank you. So now bringing in gratitude for our time together. Gratitude for the amount of help. They keep telling me it's in the millions, but my ego doesn't want to go there, so that I don't use it. There's just an infinite number of divine intelligence here in this space to serve you. And specific thanks to Angel Jophael, who holds space for each of us to illuminate that inner beauty, which of course is truth at its core. So thank you, Angel Jophael. And thank you for allowing me to be a conduit. Especially thank you to Zoom that didn't lose connection, so you didn't all have to log back in. I did twice because the connection here dropped my Wi-Fi. And it took a while for that Wi-Fi to kick in and everything to turn back on again. Thank you. to technology that kept it all together for us. That's divine synchronicity. That's divine synchrodestiny. Thank you. So ending with a sacred chant that is the prayer of peace, by asking us to be led from untruth to truth. This is its definition in Sanskrit. Its translation: being led from untruth to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May there be peace and freedom in the world, and may we be the conduits of peace and freedom. Do you know it? You're welcome to join with me. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirkamaya Mrityoma Amtramgamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guryo Namaha. Hari Om. Peace, peace, peace. May the light of truth continue to build and to create more peace within and without, as above, so below. Taking a deep breath, bring you up and out of this space of grace. And again, bowing my head in gratitude and love. It is done. It is complete. So it is, so it is, so it is. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, be blessed.